airlines are launching online initiatives like Air France KLM have launched their own social network, Virgin America has launched a community site. Do you think it's too late or do you think it's too early?
Who's going to be on an airline social network? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. I mean, if you're going to be socializing online, you're going to do it on Facebook or MySpace. I don't think, I think the airlines are kidding themselves that people have such a love affair with the airline that they want to be on the airline social network. Now, Virgin with Richard Branson's PR genius and kind of cute name that attracts a lot of looks and stares might have some potential because he can do a lot of things that most people can't just because of his bravado. Yeah. But any other airline, I think that's just ridiculous, and it doesn't make any sense at all. For sure, and the airlines were relatively early. The idea of having online commerce sites where they're selling tickets and giving information is extremely important. I think they should even, exploit that more because the internet there's lots of great things to do on the internet, but, in terms of booking your own travel, there used to be things called travel agents. Remember that? that helps you book a travel and the flights. And today we can easily be our own travel agent because we can find out all that great information ourselves. So, that is where the focus needs to be for airlines in terms of their online activities is keeping those websites, up to date, current, and the best out there because that really, really can help their brand image.
Coincidentally, I was talking to the person in Air France who has led this online initiative, and his idea was, we're going to have frequent flyers interacting with each other, trying to find out who's flying where and sharing stories with each other. Do you think...
Well, I'll tell you what they could do if they're Air France customers is complain about the terrible service.
And the strikes, maybe.
Because I've flown a lot of Air France before, and come on. This is not really an airline that's terribly loved. Most people, if you got to fly to France, you got to fly Air France. And they're kidding themselves if they think that people are that much in love with that brand that they would want to and willingly, sign up for a social network where they're going to interact with other travelers.
Right. Now, you mentioned that airlines should strengthen their online sites and online booking services, but what about having corporate blogs? Do you think that makes sense for airlines?
Well, yeah. I think it's neither good or bad in the sense that for any company, I think that the CEO needs to be the spokesperson for the company and for the brand. And as a spokesperson, they need to do a lot of media. They need to do PR and interviews and really get out there and talk about the brand and be an expert in the industry, if you will. In some cases, that can be used as a corporate, blog where you're giving out information. But, generally these people, what is there really to say? A blog tends to be a very kind of personal thing, very opinionated, and that's not usually something that CEOs are known for doing. I think there's better ways that they can make use of their time and their PR efforts by, getting out there and doing interviews and giving speeches. And those type of things can be covered by other people's blogs as opposed to, I don't see many people, going to the corporate blog.
Right. Okay. That's an interesting point. What about some of the risks? There's this whole notion about going online. One of the risks is that it's difficult to control the brand online. Do you think that's a concern?
Of course. The concern at every company is, oh my goodness, I'm going to lose control of the brand. That is a problem, but the real problem is that the companies didn't have control over the brand in the first place. Companies that have positioned the brand very strongly, don't find it very problematic. You don't see a lot of people talking about Volvo being a dangerous car or a sports car. Volvo's a safe car, and they focus all of their efforts on reinforcing that fact. And so there isn't really a lot of risk about losing control because you need to set the tone. You need to establish what your brand is about and keep reinforcing that so that it can't be changed by the people people, if you will. When it is vulnerable is when your brand stands for nothing.
Right,
You know, what does Air France stand for? I don't know.
Champagne.
Flying to France, which, is not really a very unique position anymore. American Airlines, what does that stand for? I have no idea.
Yep.
Most of you look at the advertising slogans that all these airlines have done over the years, you find hard-pressed to have any of them that stand out in the mind. I mean, we know why you fly. I mean, what does that mean? And what airline did it? I have no idea.
Yep.
None of them have done very good jobs at putting anything in the mind as to what their brand stands for. So, of course, on the internet or anywhere else, they're very, can be very vulnerable to having that brand image smeared or tarnished because, it's your job to put into the mind what it is your brand should stand for.
Right. Now, given that there's so many risks involved in online branding, how do you think companies can measure ROI, a return on investment from online branding initiatives?
Well, it's always very difficult to measure ROI, and I think in general, what the head of a company is responsible for is figuring out what it is that brand stands for, what that opportunity is for that brand, and then finding ways to implement that strategy. And if it works, if your customers come back to you with your brand strategy. I mean, people know that Southwest is the low-cost airline,
right?
And so that result of their branding efforts has been very, very effective.
Right.
We find it very difficult to many times to benchmark these things. Again, many times these things take years and decades to kind of establish themselves, and it needs to be consistent over the years and decades for it to really work. So you can't really measure it week by week or month by month. Many of the ways many of these companies do. It's that really that consistency that matters most. And for airlines, I mean, the major ones, they're really digging themselves out of a hole here.
Right.
And really because of, the way they're organized and all the aircraft that they own. Again, we talk about Southwest flies just one type of aircraft. And because of, where they fly and how they fly, it makes it very easy to manage the fleet and everything else. For Delta that, flies, 7 or 8 or 9 different types of aircraft, it's very difficult. It'd be very difficult to change that company into a focus brand because of, all those equipment they have. So, the airlines, I think more than, almost any other industry really has an uphill battle to fight here. But they've got to get serious and they've got to get focused first and foremost.
Right. Now, you just mentioned benchmarks as well, just consistency over time. Interestingly, one of the leading brand rankings, Interbrand's Top 100 Brands ranking this year, it had no airlines.
Yeah.
Now, what's a good way to measure airline brands and rate them? Is the benchmark needed at all?
Well, I do, and we do follow that Interbrand ranking. I think that is a quite good barometer of the power and the strength of a brand. We also, highly, find that you ask consumers what their first thought is of a brand, and you can get a pretty good barometer of whether your idea is resonating with people and your efforts are paying off. I mean, you ask people what's a Volvo, and 9 out of 10 will say safe car, or BMW they say the ultimate driving machine, and that is the core of their success and their strength is their ability to own an idea in the mind. And then, of course, they have the great sales to back that up. As well for airlines, I mean, the strength and the lack of airlines on the list is really quite telling that the industry as a whole is in obviously serious trouble because they have a lack of brands. It's not that people don't want to fly. I mean, people want to fly more than ever.
Right.
They absolutely want to fly, but the airlines over the years, again, have just, eroded their meaning by focusing too much on price and this cost structure that has every seat at a different price, which just, again, I mean, infuriates people.
Right. Now, let's talk about some of the future trends. What are your thoughts about airlines in 2009?
Well, I mean, in some cases, cases, it's going to be more of the same, but we are again seeing, great opportunities from new airlines. And, obviously with the success of Ryanair and AirAsia and Southwest and JetBlue, there's been a lot of interest in that you can make money in airlines.
Right.
And the way to make money is by focusing and by standing for something. I think there's great potential in first class only airlines, specifically for overseas travel that has affordable pricing. I mean, I can't tell you what the major airlines, charge me to fly to Asia and Europe. It's ridiculous. Right? And it doesn't make any sense. And it's basically to cover all the cheap fares for the people back in coach, which doesn't seem fair at all. So there is opportunity for those brands that do focus, and we are seeing some success. We are seeing some money made, and I hope that continues. And I hope that the big carriers can learn from that and can, sacrifice. I mean, how do you fix a company that has, become bloated, has gotten itself into trouble? It hasn't done the right strategies over the years. You've got to be ruthless, and you've got to give up something.
Right.
Whether it's giving up first class, whether it's giving up coach, whether it's giving up meals. Simplify the whole thing so that it's understandable and that you have something that you own and you can defend and you stand for in the mind. And that's the way to fix any situation. The U.S. car manufacturers are in the same situation as the airlines, truly. They don't have brands. They don't stand for anything. They're trying to sell, they're giving it away, selling on price and all sorts of crazy things. They've got to refocus. They've got to get out of the things that don't make sense for them, and in order to stand for something in the mind.
Right. Now, what about branding in 2009?
Well, I mean, again, I think it's what the key to branding success is being able to stand for something.
Right.
Focusing and sacrificing so that you can stand for anything. The problem with a company like Chevrolet or Delta Northwest that are into everything, selling to everybody at all types of prices is that what are you going to say in your branding? What are you going to say in your advertising? You're not left with any idea that you can use, and that is truly problematic. I mean, first you have to fix the company, and then you can fix the brand. Right.
Now, what about Laura Reis in 2009?
Well, Laura Reis is going to continue her branding efforts. Al and I have been working all of this 2008 on a new book, and it's going to be out in February 2009. It's called War in the Boardroom, and it is about the conflict and problems and fights that happen between marketing and management over branding and why they fight and how to best to resolve those issues.
Brilliant. We look forward to the book.
Okay, well, thank you so much.